Labour paint a grim future for public transport and particularly BR in the next few years. They say the government is one of Europe's meanest, with public investment funds lower than other major countries.
All those who have expertise in transport, either in freight or passenger, can offer new services.
The Jubilee line's about to collapse because they can't find the private capital of 400 million.
What happened during the last Labour government, when investment in the railways actually fell. It's fallen under every Labour government, despite their rather splendid rhetoric.
He doesn't know where the rail route's going to come for the Channel Tunnel, and our freight system's falling apart. And he keeps on saying, we're going to end the monopoly.
What's the point of having an integrated transport policy when he can't even integrate it into the government's programme? But he's not...
Today we're diving into the world of transport appraisal. Now you might be wondering what on earth is TAG. TAG is not simply a game that you play with friends.
You're it!
It's actually some guidance from the Green Book for transport appraisal, and it sits within one of the 5 cases within the business case. And yes, you got it right, the economic case. But don't worry, we're not here to drown you in technical jargon. We're breaking it down and we're keeping it real.
Take what's your life, put it into plain English.
And for the duration of this video, think of social value as welfare and welfare as utility. Essentially, it's the good stuff. Where do we get our definition of appraisal? Right from the Green Book itself. No mirrors, no smoke.
Smoke coming from the radio.
Just straight from the source. Transport appraisal is not simply about numbers and statistics. It's rooted in a social welfare framework. In simpler terms, it's like the government department playing matchmaker between proposals and the public good. So if you've ever wondered what the Department for Transport is up to and how it affects the greater good, then stick around. We're about to unravel the world of use and, dare we say, misuse of appraisal in the world of transport. So let's get started. So let's talk about something what happened in the year 2020, the Green Book Review.
Mr. Chancellor of the Exchequer.
The review found that the then current appraisal system was likely to undermine the government's goals of achieving its strategic objectives, such as levelling up left behind areas in the north.
A lot of people in the north also don't like the ideas of people in the south, the snobs, etc.
Some highlights in the Green Book Review include misconceptions, such as the benefit-cost ratio tending to dominate in the transport sector, thus detracting from a more well-rounded appraisal. We will be tackling some common misperceptions which are common to transport analysis, such as the concept of time savings are not of value and that driver time savings dominate appraisal. There's also one of counterfactuals. What's the point of investing within an intervention as the problem emerges again in the future anyway? So what's the point? My favourite is computer says wrote. So this is where perhaps colleagues may say, well, the model within Excel or Python computed that this should be the outcome based on our assumptions and calculations, so we have to stick with it regardless. And finally, benefit-cost ratio dominates appraisal, and the decisions do not take into account of income inequality. Basically, social value benefits covers more than a simple, narrow view of time savings. A holistic impacts framework is required. Appraisals should cover all impacts that occur, reporting in their natural units, as well as monetized social welfare values where possible. Each impact has its own merit and importance to a decision. PCRs can be a useful snapshot of value for money, but do not provide the required detail to really understand scheme impact and strategic alignment. What is a scheme trying to achieve? Appraisals may be tailored to focus on particular impacts and should focus on how the proposal meets its spending objectives. So say you have an active travel scheme. A key component of the benefits may mainly stem from the public health, so physical activity plays a large chunk of it. Journey quality as well is important. It's not just the actual enjoyment of the journey, it's also the perceptions of safety, such as off-road cycle tracks, which can provide very high benefit cost ratios. Essentially what I'm saying is that appraisal's framework allows you to pull out those aspects that are important of what you're trying to do and hence support your spending objectives. Let's break free from the misconceptions that time savings are merely rushing from point A to point B.
Was that a challenge? Well, if it's a race you want, it's a race you'll get.
It's a broader concept intertwined with accessibility and ultimately contributes significantly to the enhanced social fabric that we anticipate from transport movements. This may potentially stem from a misunderstanding of what time savings represent within an economic appraisal. So when we measure the value of time savings,
Because I worked out a way in which I can give you back that precious quality. Fine.
How?
Are you ready for this?
it takes into account factors such as cost factors, perceived factors of travel, as well as increased opportunities for individuals within an economy. Cost factors of journeys such as public transport fares, fuel, vehicle operating costs, these are equivalent to values changing in accessibility. And perceived factors of travel include factors such as waiting, interchanging, comfort, and reliability. So increased opportunities for individuals. This relates to destinations required to maintain or increase quality of life, such as opportunities to access key services such as healthcare and schools, spending more time with family and friends and relatives, accessing a larger job market, increasing career opportunities and learning developments, as well as living in a wider selection of locations to provide for oneself and one family, as well as fulfilling one's life ambitions. And this also includes the affordability of transport services, especially for marginalised sections of society. And it's these kinds of increases and opportunity through accessibility improvements that the transport use benefits calculations are picking up. And it's very intertwined in almost the same concepts as accessibility. And it's not simply just a narrow view of time savings, it's a much broader concept. The value of time saved picks up very significant parts of what the increased social value that we might expect from transport improvements. So why is the counterfactual so important? In the counterfactual, personal accessibility,
Down I go.
unit social welfare will decrease and economic growth is constrained, where demand for transport services increases, such as through increased population and employment in the future relative to today. Now, it's a flawed argument to say, even if we were to invest, the speed of transport may return to what they are today on one transport link in the country. Therefore, there is no point investing. It's a flawed argument to say this. Why? So we have the y-axis for social welfare, and we have the x-axis for time. What I will try to do is demonstrate the change in social welfare over time, essentially the quality of life for people. So if you were not to invest, demand increases, population increases, employment increases, then your unit social welfare per person will decrease. And that's because you will experience things like congestion, crowding in public transport, and we could see this within Area B. But if supply doesn't change and demand does, then this is the implication. This is one reason out of many why the government invests, and particularly invests in transport. So if you did nothing, life will be worse essentially. But if you did introduce a scheme, then you're on the blue line, and you will get more value because you will decrease congestion, you will make crowding less acute on the public transport, you will essentially make people access more opportunities of life essentially, and that's what the blue line represents. But it is also a fact that again over time in the future that this will potentially duck below the x-axis once again. So what that essentially is saying is that you'll be worse off compared to today, but effectively you can accommodate more demand within the short, medium term. And this is why the counterfactual is important. It's our baseline for appraisal. What is the relationship between the word counterfactual and forecasting? If I Google the word, it stems from the philosophical word meaning relating to or expressing what has not happened or is not the case. It's important that we are all on the same page of what forecasting is for.
I used to be a fortune teller, but all I ever predicted was really cold winters. Turned out the crystal ball shop had sold me a snow globe.
The whole purpose and point of doing appraisal is that your counterfactuals will not happen because you'll be making some intervention. So, for example, the national road traffic projections that the Department for Transport produce is a set of counterfactuals. This is almost like your problem statement. So what will happen if demand increases within the do-nothing or business-as-usual scenarios? Appraisal isn't simply about time savings. It's about measuring social value benefits to people that encompasses a much broader spectrum than what we might initially perceive. To truly grasp the impacts of a scheme, we need a holistic framework. An appraisal should cover all aspects and, where possible, provides monetised social values. And this includes benefit-cost ratios, which provide a snapshot, point in time, but it lacks the detail needed for a deeper understanding of a scheme impacts and strategic alignment. It's important to note that appraisals should be tailored for the spending objectives set out in the earlier strategic case, and it's fine for appraisals to be tailored to focus on the particular impacts that stem from the specific problems identified. So let's, for instance, say that we provide an illustrative example, an active travel scheme.
Now, I see no reason why we can't ride the rest of the way.
And the benefit of this perhaps may mainly stem from public health.
Come on, don't flag. Jab, jab. The big one next week, sir.
So physical activity perhaps may play a large chunk of this project initiative. And the journey quality as well is also a very significant part of the benefits that may derive part of that value for money assessment. So it's not just the actual enjoyment of the journey that's included within this concept. It's also the perception of safety as well.
For health and safety, boy.
Such as off-road cycle tracks, which can provide very high benefit-cost ratios. And essentially what I'm saying is that the appraisal frameworks allows you to pull out all these aspects that are important of what you're trying to do and hence support your spending objectives. So induced traffic is fundamentally aligned with economic theory. That's something that we do with invariable demand modeling. And this is where travel time savings on one trip can be reinvested in travel elsewhere. So induced traffic is more than just a ripple effect. It's a fundamental concept where travel time savings from one trip can be reinvested elsewhere. But here's a catch. It's not just confined to a single unit or a single mode of travel. Induced demand permeates across all modes of transportation. For instance, what we could say as an example is the Victoria Line upgrade.
You and other commuters can't get a seat on the Victoria Line ever.
It wasn't just about cutting down travel time. By reducing crowding and enhancing reliability, it brought substantial benefits. However, as with any induced demand, crowding may gradually increase again over time. Yet this improvement in public transport accessibility in London stands out. It was horrible because yes, you might actually get some time savings because you don't have to wait for so many trains to go through, but again, that's just another demand of how induced demand works. In crafting a sustainable plan, it's crucial to strike a balance. Recognizing the intricate web of demand in an area and addressing the diverse needs of transport users is the key to a well-rounded and effective approach. It's not just about one node or one project, it's about creating a transport ecosystem that serves the evolving demands of the community. DFT have set out their guidance on the distribution of benefits in line with Green Book principles. This is a kind of separate analysis to the core value for money analysis. It's presenting these impacts as recommended in TAG. It allows the decision maker to take a view on how they think equity and fairness should be considered within the process of approving investments. This aligns with the central government's strategy of levelling up and the potential interest in the spatial distribution of benefits. If properly done and rigorously distributed impact analysis, this should provide a lot of relevant information to decision makers to understand what these impacts are likely to be for different parts of the country. The Department for Transport have published place-based analysis to help make this point more clear. Distributional analysis.
Distributional analysis.
Distributional analysis.
Distributional analysis.
The Treasury distributional analysis.
Distributional analysis
is a technique available for the appraisal of any scheme using model outputs, as well as other tools to demonstrate the impact on different types of users. And this is seen here within TAG Guidance A4.2, and this is supplementary to the core value for money analysis, which is based on social welfare. So one thing that the Department for Transport provides is the national average of equity values within TAG. So DFT explicitly doesn't allow for the value of time to vary across the country with different incomes. And that's one way that the Department for Transport tries to bake equity within their appraisal framework. So surely, and quite rightly, it's fair to say, for any analysis to value the time and the value of a rich banker within Greater London than someone based within the industrial left behind area in the north, right? A fixed travel time budget can be used as a measure of how we estimate social value within a transport appraisal. Fixed travel time budget isn't just a time constraint, it's a measure of how individuals allocate their precious time to travel each day.
Ian, how are we doing for time?
We died 45 seconds ago.
Terrific.
It's like a personal daily allowance for commuting, regardless of the mode or distance. The European Transport Conference also side with DFT's approach of using transport user benefits as a driver of how we estimate social value within the transport appraisal. And these reasons include the first being continuous journey time benefits, the second being access to opportunities, and the third being quality of travel. Continuous journey time benefits. So even if the total time people spend traveling remains fixed, there is a dynamic aspect. With improved infrastructure, individuals might redirect their travel time to different destinations or times. So think about the motorway expansions or perhaps even high-speed rail. Faster journeys that remain fast create a lasting benefit year after year. 2. Access to opportunities. As people adapt their behavior to improved journey times, they still derive value. Even if they choose to spend the same amount of time traveling, the intervention by a project provides access to more opportunities, enriching lives and expanding possibilities. Quality of travel matters. It's not just about the clock time saved, it's about the perceived quality of travel. Factors like reliability, comfort, or a bit of comfort, congestion all play a significant role. And even if the journey times do not change, improvements in these aspects enhance the overall travel experience, contributing to the perceived value. So fixed time travel budgets are not just about the ticking clock. They're a nuanced measure that reflects the intricate relationship between time, infrastructure, and the quality of our daily journeys. Even if all these things would mean that journey times didn't change, you still have significant improvements in the quality of the time that you have spent, all affecting the perceived disutility of travel time and manifest as components of the generalized cost. Now let's unravel the debate on whether policy ambitions should be reflected in the value for money analysis. The current stance in the Green Book introduces a screening process. It begins by setting clear objectives for the project or program seeking investment funding. Defining these objectives are critical, but fundamentally outside the remit of a cost-benefit analysis and economic appraisal. If the discussed options do not align with these objectives, they are deemed out of scope and not even considered in the value for money assessment. However, the achievement of objectives per se should have no bearing on the estimation of welfare impacts. Appraisal is meant to be used to test the social impacts of meeting decision makers' goals in different ways, not reflecting policy preferences. Be clear, value for money assessment does not place a monetary value on these objectives. It aims to maintain objectivity within the appraisal process while acknowledging the importance of aligning with decision makers' goals. Assessing policy objectives in terms of monetized values raises skepticism, and there is a risk of undermining the objectivity of the appraisal, a crucial aspect upheld by civil servants. And while there is validity in considering distributional weighting, the core focus remains on evaluating the welfare impacts within the constrained scope of meeting specific objectives. It's all about understanding the broader impacts without directly quantifying the achievements of policy objectives. We're still trying to look at what the welfare impacts are going to be within the constrained scope of meeting these smart objectives. And this is slightly different, trying to directly place a value on the achievement of those objectives. And there we have it. Just a quick summary of the use and misuse of transport appraisal. Is there anything else perhaps that I've missed out on? If so, feel free to comment and we could continue building a community where we can just share as many ideas. See you in the next video.